You are standing in the middle of a storm, looking at the wreckage of your plans. First thing you want to do is point a finger at the sky and ask, where are you? We have been conditioned to believe that if we are walking in faith, the road should be paved with gold and lined with sunshine. We've bought into this lie that suffering is a signal of failure or a sign that we've been abandoned by the Creator. I'm here to tell you that your perspective is skewed. You are looking at the dirt and the darkness, and you are calling it a grave. You think the weight of the world on your shoulders is the lid of a casket closing in on you. But you have to understand the mechanics of growth. You have to understand that there is no difference between being buried and being planted, except for one thing: the expectation of what happens next. When you are buried, it's over. It's a finality, it's a loss. But when you are planted, the darkness is a laboratory. The dirt isn't there to suffocate you. It is there to provide the nutrients, the pressure, and the environment necessary for your internal structure to break open so that something greater can emerge. You are crying out because it's dark, not realizing that the darkness is where the transformation happens. You're asking for the light. If you were in the light right now, you'd never develop the root system required to sustain the height you're about to reach. You want the fruit, but you're complaining about the soil. You cannot have the harvest without the hidden season. This shift in perspective is the difference between those who wither in the valley and those who walk through it. You have to look at your pain and stop calling it a punishment. It is a pruning. Have you ever seen a master gardener with a pair of shears? To the branch, that blade looks like an enemy. It looks like an attack. The branch is losing a part of itself that it's grown comfortable with. But the gardener isn't cutting to kill. He's cutting to increase. He's removing the dead weight, the suckers, and the parts that are stealing energy from the potential of the fruit. If you aren't being pruned, you aren't growing. If you aren't feeling the pressure of the soil, you aren't being prepared for the sun. Stop viewing your suffering as a random act of cruelty. There is a precision to your pain. There is a divine intentionality behind the resistance you are facing. We love to talk about the victory, but victory is a hollow word if there was never a battle. We love to talk about strength, but strength is a biological impossibility without resistance. You are being worked. You are in the middle of a spiritual workout where the weights are heavy and the muscles are tearing. That tearing is exactly how the muscle gets larger. You have to trust the hand that holds the seeds. If you were left on the surface, you'd be bird food. You'd be swept away by the first wind that blew through the yard. You had to be covered. You had to be pushed down into the earth. You had to be isolated. Sometimes God will isolate you just so He can insulate you. He'll take away the distractions. He'll let the friends walk away. He'll let the support system fail just so you realize that the power to break through the dirt isn't coming from the outside. It's already been placed on the inside of you. You are a seed of the Most High, and a seed doesn't need a cheerleader to grow. It just needs to stay in the dirt and wait for the right time. Your time is coming. Stop fighting the environment and start focusing on the development. You want the oil, but you're running from the press. You want the wine, but you're refusing to step into the vat. We live in a culture that worships the finished product, but despises the process of extraction. We see the anointing on someone's life. We see the wisdom in their words. We see the peace that surpasses understanding. And we say, I want that. But you have to understand that you are looking at is the result of a crushing. You cannot get the essence of a thing until the outer shell has been broken. There is a version of you that is comfortable, superficial, and untested. And that version of you cannot handle the weight of the destiny that has been spoken over your life. To get to the core of who you are, to reach the liquid gold inside your soul, the Father has to allow you to go through the press. Think about the olive. On the tree, it's just a fruit. It has potential. Its true value is locked inside a hard exterior. To get the oil, the substance used for healing, for light, for anointing, that olive has to be beaten, shaken from the tree, and then placed under a massive stone. The pressure isn't there to destroy the olive. It's there to demand the oil. Some of you feel like the weight of your circumstances is a literal millstone on your chest. You feel like the pressure of your debt, the pressure of your grief, or the pressure of your broken relationships is going to crack your ribs. But I need you to lean into the pressure. I need you to realize that the very thing that feels like it's breaking you is actually releasing the most valuable part of you. The oil only flows when the pressure is at its peak. This is the theology of the furnace. When a goldsmith wants to purify gold, he doesn't just wash it with water. He puts it in the fire. He turns the heat up until the metal liquefies. Why? Because the heat is the only thing that can separate the gold from the dross. The dross is the impurity. It's the junk that's been attached to the gold that makes it less than what it was meant to be. We all walk around with dross, pride, insecurity, bitterness, and ego. We think we're fine, but God knows that if he takes us to the next level with that dross attached, we'll fail. So he turns up the heat. He allows the fiery trial to come not to burn you up, but to burn the junk off of you. If you look closely at the furnace, the refiner is always sitting right there. He's not distant. He's watching the temperature. He knows exactly how much you can handle, and he won't pull you out until he can see his own reflection in the gold. You have to stop praying for the fire to go out and start praying for the fire to do its work. If you come out too early, you come out impure. If you avoid the crushing, you stay an olive and you never become the oil. There is a level of authority that only comes through suffering. There is a depth of compassion that can only be birthed in the vat of shared pain. You are being qualified in the struggle. Heat you are feeling right now is not evidence of God's anger. It is evidence of his investment. He doesn't refine trash. He only refines treasure. If you weren't worth anything, he'd let you stay cold. But because you are a legend in the making, you have been called to change your generation. The process has to be intense. The higher the calling, the heavier the press. Trust the refiner, trust the vintner. The crushing is temporary, but the oil is eternal. Anyone can sing when the sun is shining. Anyone can shout hallelujah when the bills are paid, the kids are acting right, and the body is free from pain. That's not deep faith, just a reaction to a favorable environment. If your trust in the Creator is tied to your comfort level, then your faith isn't an anchor, it's a sail. And you're at the mercy of whatever wind happens to be blowing. I'm talking to the people who are in a season where the wind is howling and the floor has dropped out from under them. I'm talking to the legends who are standing in the wreckage of a dream and still have the audacity to look up and say, I know he is able. This is where the real work happens. This is where your spirit is forged, not in the comfort of the palace. In the silence of the prison cell, you have to understand that your circumstances are not an accurate reflection of God's character. We have this dangerous habit of judging the king by the weather. We think that if life is hard, God must be distant. We think that if we are suffering, he must be angry. But if you look at the track record of every great figure in history, their greatest moments of spiritual clarity didn't happen on the mountaintop. They happened in the pit. The pit is where you learn that He is enough. When you lose the money, when the car is gone, when the friends disappear because you're no longer useful to their agenda, you are left with a raw, unfiltered connection to the divine that you never could have found in the crowd. You find out that He isn't just a provider of things. He is the source of life itself. True faith, haven, if kind of commitment. It's the spirit that says, even if the fig tree doesn't blossom, even if the fields produce no food, even if the diagnosis doesn't change tomorrow, I will still rejoice. That kind of trust is a weapon. It's a frequency that the enemy cannot stand because it's not based on logic. Logic says you should be depressed. Logic says you should be defeated. Logic says you should be looking for an exit strategy. Faith is a supernatural defiance. It's the ability to look at a no and see a not yet. It's the ability to walk into a room where you've been rejected and still carry yourself like royalty because you know that your validation doesn't come from human hands. If you want to reach the level of a legend, you have to survive the seasons where nothing makes sense. You have to be okay with being misunderstood. You have to be okay with walking alone for a while. Because when you are in that isolated space, the external world is screaming that it's over. Your internal world has to be so anchored in the truth that you aren't even moved by the noise. The world gives peace based on the absence of trouble, but God gives peace in the middle of it. He doesn't always take the storm away. Sometimes He just makes you storm-proof. He builds a resilience in you that says, I have been through too much to quit now. You aren't fragile. You aren't a victim of your surroundings. You are a child of the King, and your spirit was designed to dominate the darkness, not hide from it. Stop checking the news and start checking your spirit. The floor might be gone, but you have wings. Fly. We are a generation that is terrified of the dark. We want the stage. We want the spotlight, and we want the public recognition. You need to understand that anything that grows in the light without first being developed in the dark is unstable. It's top heavy. Fake, the real substance of who you are, the architecture of your soul, is built in the seasons where nobody is clapping for you. It's built in the long nights where you are wrestling with your purpose, crying out for answers, and hearing nothing but silence. You think that silence is a sign that God is sleeping, but in reality, the silence is the sound of the work being done. Some of the most beautiful things on this planet require a darkroom to develop. If you expose a photograph to the light too early, you ruin the image. If God exposed you to the spotlight before you were developed in the darkroom of struggle, the fame would destroy you. The money would corrupt you, and the pressure would crush you. The darkness is not your enemy. It is your incubator. Think about the womb. It's a place of total darkness, but it is also the place of ultimate creation. Life is being knit together in secret. Organs are forming, bones are strengthening, and a destiny is being prepared. If you tried to rush that baby into the light before the 9 months were up, you'd have a catastrophe. Some of you are trying to rush your delivery because you're tired of being in the dark. You're tired of the isolation. You're tired of people not seeing your value. But I'm telling you, wait for the development. Every day you stay in that dark room and stay faithful to the process, your resolution is getting clearer. Your character is getting sharper. Your endurance is getting stronger. The resistance you feel in the dark is the very thing that builds the muscle. In the gym, you don't get stronger by lifting feathers. You get stronger by pushing against something that is trying to push you down. The darkness provides the resistance. When you are surrounded by doubt, when you are surrounded by lack, when you are surrounded by opposition, you are forced to use muscles you didn't even know you had. You are forced to reach deep into your spirit and pull out a strength that can only be found in the struggle. This is where legends are made. They aren't made on the victory lap. They are made in the miles and miles of training in the dark when everyone else was asleep. Stop looking at the dark season as a wasted season. Nothing is wasted. Every tear, every lonely night, every no you've received is a brick in the foundation of the house you are building. The bridge to your future is paved with the stones of your past struggles. You cannot get to the other side without crossing the valley. When you finally step into the light, and you will step into the light, you won't be a person who just happened to get lucky. You will be a person who was forged in the fire and developed in the dark. You will have a weight and a presence that cannot be faked because it was earned in the long night. Trust the timing of the darkroom. The image being formed is a masterpiece, and masterpieces take time. Don't flip the switch too soon. Stay in the work until the work is done in you. I need you to hear me loud and clear. Your pain is a season, not a sentence. Greatest danger you face in the middle of suffering is not the circumstance itself. It is the temptation to adopt a victim identity. The moment you start saying, "This always happens to me," or "I guess this is just my life," you have signed a contract with defeat. You have handed the keys to your future over to your tragedy. Victim looks at their scars and sees evidence of a life that has been ruined. A victor looks at those same scars and sees evidence of a battle that was survived. You have to decide today that you will not be defined by what was done to you, or what was taken from you, or what failed to work out for you. You are not your trauma. You are not your bankruptcy. You are not your divorce. You are the one who is still standing despite all of it. The spirit of a victim is subtle. It feeds on the pity of others and the comfort of excuses. It tells you that because you've suffered. You don't have to work hard or stay faithful or be kind. It gives you a hall pass to settle for mediocrity. But I'm telling you, path leads to a graveyard of unfulfilled potential. You have to shake off that spirit. You have to realize that you can have reasons or you can have results, but you cannot have both. If you spend all your energy explaining why you can't, you won't have any energy left to figure out how you can. Hasn't called you to be a monument to your pain. He's called you to be a movement of His grace. Your story doesn't end with you lying in the dirt. It ends with you helping someone else get up out of theirs. Ownership is the beginning of authority. When you stop blaming the system, blaming your parents, blaming the economy, or even blaming the devil, and you start saying, "I am responsible for my response," that is the day your chains break. You might not have been able to control the fire. You can control what you do in the ashes. You might not have been able to stop the betrayal. You can choose whether or not you become bitter. Bitterness is the poison you drink while hoping the other person dies. Don't drink the poison. Don't let the suffering steal your heart. A victor is someone who takes the very stones that were thrown at them and uses them to build a foundation for a house. A victor takes the mod that life tried to force on them and turns it into a masterclass in resilience. You have to change the internal narrative. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" start asking, "What is this teaching me?" Shift from "I am going through this" to "I am growing through this." The language of a legend is the language of ownership. It's the realization that if God is for me, no weapon formed against me, no matter how painful, can actually prosper. It might touch me. It might scar me. It might make me cry, but it cannot stop me unless I agree to be stopped. You are a victor by bloodline. You are a conqueror by design. Stand up, square your shoulders. Remind the world that you aren't the casualty of the war. You are the champion who is going to win it. The biggest mistake you can make is confusing a process for an end. When you are in the middle of a trial, your mind starts telling you that this is the final chapter. You look at the intensity of the heat and you assume that the goal is your destruction. You have to understand the difference between being finished and being forged. A finished thing is done. It is over. It has reached its limit. But a forged thing is just getting started. Forging is the intentional application of heat and pressure to change the properties of a material. You go in as iron, brittle, ordinary, common, but you come out as steel. Steel is iron that has been through the fire and had the impurities removed. Steel is what we use to build skyscrapers. Steel is what we use to create tools that can cut through anything. God isn't trying to finish you. He is trying to steal your spirit. Think about the blacksmith. He takes the metal and he thrusts it into the coals until it is glowing red. To an observer, it looks like the metal is being tortured. The blacksmith knows that the heat is the only way to make the metal malleable. If he tried to reshape it while it was cold, it would just snap. Some of you feel hot right now because God is making you malleable. He's softening your pride. He's breaking down your stubbornness. He's making you capable of taking on a new shape. Then he takes the metal out and he strikes it with a hammer. Every blow of the hammer, every setback, every disappointment, every delay is designed to drive out the air pockets. It's designed to make the structure dense and unbreakable. The hammer isn't an enemy. The hammer is the instrument of your strength. If there is no hammer, there is no edge. We live in a world that wants the mod version of life, the easy way, the shortcut, the version where you get all the features without the work. But in the kingdom, there are no shortcuts to character. You cannot download a version of yourself that is resilient. You have to earn that resilience in the fire. Every time you think you can't take another hit, every time you think the heat is too much, remind yourself that the smith is still at the anvil. He hasn't walked away. He hasn't forgotten you. He is crafting a weapon that can be used in the high stakes battles of your future. If he didn't have a plan for you to lead, he wouldn't have bothered to put you in the fire. He's not wasting his time on a piece of scrap metal. He's working on a masterpiece. This is the season of your upgrading. You are being moved from the ordinary to the extraordinary. You are being transitioned from a person who talks about faith to a person who embodies it. When the process is complete, you won't just look the same. You will have a different density. You will have a different authority. You will walk into a room and the atmosphere will change because you aren't carrying the smell of the smoke. You are carrying the strength of the steel. You are a legend in the making. You are a victor in training. The fire didn't take your life. It gave you your edge. Stop crying about the heat and start thanking God for the forge. You are coming out stronger, sharper, and more dangerous to the darkness than you have ever been. It's not over. You're just getting ready.